Breaking news right now at 11, a 22-year-old shot by Jacksonville sheriff's officers after police say that person first fired at them. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Channing Curtis. Right now, that person is in critical condition in the hospital. Now, that situation still causing a heavy police presence on Kline Road over on the south side of Jacksonville. Now, that's near the intersection of Beach and Southside Boulevard. Our Zach Wilcox is live there for us tonight. And Zach, JSO tells you that this person actually threatened their grandfather with a gun.
Yeah, Channing, that's the call that brought JSO officers out here about 5 hours ago at 6 o'clock. And you can see that they're still here with the caution tape behind me and the lights behind me, the blue and red lights, just blocking off a couple blocks of this neighborhood. And we heard from the undersheriff who mentioned that officers tried to use a taser first to try and stop the suspect, but ultimately resorted to gunfire.
They met the owner of the home, who stated that their granddaughter, who lives in the back of the home in a shed, had gotten into a confrontation with the homeowners and produced a firearm and threatened them with that firearm.
JSO Undersheriff Sean Coursey says the suspect had a history of mental health calls and initially refused to leave a shed behind the house, eventually coming out to the backyard. Coursey says the 22-year-old wouldn't comply with officers and ultimately took off running toward the street.
Just to be clear, they had this person at gunpoint. They tased her, and she was still able to defeat that taser and pull that handgun from her waist and get a shot off at the officers.
Coursey says the bullet didn't hit anyone. Officers returned fire and hit the suspect several times, administered first aid, and took them to the hospital in critical condition.
It's difficult to say why these things happen the way that they do. We try everything that we can try to make sure they end peacefully. Unfortunately, they dictate what happens. She dictated at that point that through her actions, we were going to have to return fire, and we did. And fortunately, our officers weren't shot.
And Coursey mentioned that their mental health co-responders with the department weren't called out to this call because the suspect was armed, and they don't bring them out to armed suspect calls because of for their own safety. And the sheriff mentioned that to his knowledge, the grandparents are doing okay physically. On the south side, Zach Wilcox, First Coast News, on your side.